Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Brad Crowell joins us. He's the director of the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. A huge portfolio for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
The 7th Annual Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, compassion, accountability, integrity, respect. Tolles Development Company, breathing life into Northern Nevada's future. And the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, meeting the community's present and future needs.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are delighted to welcome to the program Brad Crowell. He is director of the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And I want to say up front that I'm a friend of your family. I love your dad. Your dad has been a huge part of our program over the years, mayor of Carson City, of course, and worked with us on our nonprofit. And so it's great to have another generation of Crowells on the program.
Thanks, Sam. I'm happy to be here.
Let's start out with explaining to people a little bit about your department, because it is a huge department and it covers a wide swath of different issues. So explain about the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, big picture in a couple of minutes.
Sure. Thanks, Sam. I appreciate the question because we are one of the larger state agencies, cabinet agencies, with just over 1,000 people and 7 and now 8 divisions. But we are the majority of what anyone typically would think of in the natural resources and environmental space, the big exception being wildlife and agriculture. But everything else we pretty much do. We're the home of the state engineer, the state water engineer, Nevada State Parks, the State Historic Preservation Office, State Lands Office, Division of Environmental Protection. And so we pretty much do everything under the Division of Forestry, so wild and fire. So we do a little bit of everything, and there's a reason why all those entities are under one roof. It's just there's an overlap and consistency in the mission there, and we approach the job from that perspective of working together.
All right, so let's go through several different areas. First of all, on your website, it refers to the division as being bipartisan. Is that the way you look at it?
I look at it more as nonpartisan.
Nonpartisan, okay.
Yes.
All right, and that doesn't change. So we've gone, for example, from a moderate Republican governor to a Democrat. The mission of the agency doesn't change?
That's right. And while it is a nonpartisan office, I obviously have a personal partisanship, which I don't necessarily need to disclose, but I reference it because I worked for both the previous Republican governor and now our current Democratic governor. And I think for the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, it is much more a what is right for Nevada suite of issues than it is a partisan suite of issues.
All right, so the state water engineer comes under your purview. Obviously, this has got to be one of the hottest button issues in the state, water.
Very much so. And one of the most difficult issues when I first became director about 3 years ago, just under 3 years ago, getting familiar with the complexities and histories of Nevada water law was difficult. And I say these days it's almost ironic that it's called the state engineer because the engineering component of the job is minimal compared to the litigation, the straight water policy, and the politics of that position. And if you were going to ascribe a science to the state engineer's office these days, it'd be more hydrology than it is engineering. That's where our modern day water policy challenges lie, which is how much water do we have, who has a right to it, and how do we have it in the right parts of the state for the right types of uses. And we had a water law that was based, over 100 years ago when our population was much smaller. The fundamental parts of our water law now in today's Nevada with almost 3 million people is putting a real strain on our water resource allocation. Add on top of the population increases the impacts of climate change, and how we manage our water in Nevada is going to be an increasingly challenging topic going forward. Okay,
so and obviously you've laid out the basic parameters here, which is litigation is at the top of the list beyond the actual resource itself. How does that division interact with you? I mean, are you in there with the state water engineer going over the legalities, the politics, all the other parts of this that have to be dealt with? Or is that where that division takes care of itself and just reports to you on where they are?
In the past, it had been under previous directors, it had been very insulary in terms of the state engineer kind of doing what it has historically done without a whole lot of interaction outside of that. Those days have kind of been surpassed by our modern challenges. So it's a very close relationship between my office as director and the state engineer's office to go over, like you said, both the litigative elements of the job, the political elements of the job, particularly when the legislature is in session, and then just there are regional issues that and different types of water users that are constantly having to be managed throughout the state.
So the obvious, well, let's throw a couple of things in here and then I'll let you address them. We're looking at, according to the state demographer, another 1 million people in the Las Vegas Valley. There have been all kinds of discussions during the last legislative session on this program, as well as just over time, that the folks in Southern Nevada Water Authority feels comfortable that they have the resources water-wise with all of their programs to be able to accommodate 1 million additional people. But there is a long-range goal that they say as a last resort, and this is maybe 30 years out, but planning requires people to look 30, 40, 50 years out to move water from eastern Nevada down to southern Nevada. When you look at this situation, obviously it is, I would have to say, probably the biggest fight in the state. The environmental side is lined up totally against this, but at the same time, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has bought up all these ranches that have water rights, and they own that water, and therefore they have, and they're using it for ranches at this point in time. They're actually ranching cattle. People may not realize that, and apparently doing it quite well. Where do you see this going? And I understand that with your position, there is a limit to what you can say because of the legalities, but share what you can with us on this.
Sure, it's a good question, Sam. It's one that we face on a daily basis, even outside of outside of the legislative session. Things are more contentious. But first of all, Clark County and through the Southern Nevada Water Authority does a really good job of water conservation. 90% of the water they use down there is from the Colorado River. the balance is from existing groundwater resources primarily. But as that growth extends in Las Vegas, looking out into the future, particularly with some of the climate models, that strain on providing water to that growing population is going to be more difficult, even with the first in the nation conservation efforts that the Water Authority has implemented. As you mentioned, there's a proposal to bring, SNWA has a proposal to bring water down from eastern Nevada under some water rights that they currently hold through a pipeline. There are no immediate plans to build that pipeline, and there's obviously many differences of opinion on the validity of that pipeline. But putting the pipeline project aside and just looking at the cost of the pipeline, which is in the billions of dollars, my personal opinion is that if we can think about a pipeline that costs billions of dollars, then we could probably consider all sorts of other innovative technologies or solutions. Billions of dollars doesn't leave too many ideas off the table. And I think it's probably prudent to explore those as well, not knowing what the outcome of the pipeline litigation is going to be.
Congressman Horsford was on the program a couple of weeks ago talking about the two desalination plants that are being built off the coast of California, and talking about the potential that California would take the desalination water, and then Nevada would be able to gain an increased allotment from the Colorado River. My response to him was, you know, it took Harry Reid 30 years to get the Truckee River operating agreement done. How many decades are we looking in terms of trying to redo the Colorado River agreement? And most of what's being done on the Colorado River at this point is actually not utilizing Congress, but just agreement between the users, between the states on the river, with the exception of the Imperial Valley.
That's right. The concept or theory of working out an agreement with an interstate agreement with California, possibly an international agreement with Mexico, where desalination has also been looked at in exchange for Colorado River allocation, will take time, will take lots of money. Not to say that it's not a direction that should be explored or one that we ultimately want to go. My concern with that concept is that we're trading a certainty for an uncertainty, and taking someone else's share of financing a desalination plant in one state to give that state certainty on their water resource, and then taking their share of the Colorado River, which the supply is less certain given upstream users and climate change, is a dangerous proposition.
To say the least. Okay, let's take a break. More with Brad Crowell when we come back.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia. Yeah.
Because of UMC, I'm putting my free time to good use.
Because of UMC, she keeps me on my toes.
Because of UMC and this guy, I'm here.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Brad Crowell. He's director of the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. One last question on the water issue, and we'll turn to other topics, because as I said, you have such a huge portfolio. Does the creation of Ivanpah Airport become the turning point in all of this? Because eventually, and it may be, again, 30 years down the road before a second airport is needed for Las Vegas, but that is going to create its own city to the south of Las Vegas. Is that the critical mass that's needed for where we have to say, okay, this is the water we are going to need to supply this region, wherever it comes from?
To be blunt with you, Sam, I think we're already at that point, quite honestly. We're up against that much strain in our water resources across the state, between historical overappropriation or overpumping in our water basins, people moving to Nevada, regardless of how many tourists we have coming in. We have just an influx of population in the north and the south. So I think we're already there, and I think if we're not approaching it as being there already, we're going to be further behind the ball when, say, that airport opens or some other major development happens.
Okay, and I just thought of one other quick one to throw at you, which is that we've got major projects coming online that it may take 20 years for them to develop in Fernley, with 2 major industrial parks appearing to come online. And you've got Lyon County that is seen as a growth area for housing and other industries to supplement Story County. The Lyon County manager was on the program saying, this is all great, but I don't know where we're going to get the water from. The folks in Fernley say we have the water. What is your thought on that? And if we don't have the water, where is the source that we would get that from? Because I guess at a price you can get water.
This is true. Although we're not in a water market here in Nevada, but it still comes at a price, and you can find ways to get water when you don't have it. I think it's less about where that water is going to come from and who has the priority right to that water that we need to watch going forward. And I say that specifically with regard to a whole variety of court cases that are happening now at the district and the Supreme Court level that are really going to be precedent setting in how the state engineer is required to allocate water and look at who has the priority to use that water. And so despite what the fundamentals of our water law may be here in Nevada of first in time, first in right, beneficial use, etc., the courts in Nevada are changing that dynamic with some precedent-setting decisions. And
when will we know, or what's the estimated time frame for knowing some of these decisions? I think next year? Yeah, over the next 12 to 24 months. All right, let's talk about lithium mines and Nevada and conservation of a unique flower. There are certain portions of the environmental community, which is very, very well funded, that are looking at a flower that has only one area in the world that it grows in southern Nevada, but it happens to be right next door to a potential lithium mine, lithium being a mineral that we desperately need if we want to continue to build batteries, and obviously we have the Gigafactory right here in Nevada. Your thoughts on this battle? And how do you draw the priorities? So we try and balance the priorities. I assume you're asking the question because of the news from the other day that we are going to undertake. Oh, no, we've known about this story for a while. Okay. But yes, Scott Saunders did a great piece for the AP on this particular thing. It was published in the Reno Gazette in the newspaper itself today. Right. But yeah, this has been around for quite a while. Got picked up in the New York Times and the Washington Post, so it's definitely on the radar. You know, we try and take a very balanced approach here to how we do regulation, and this is where we have within the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources a role here via NDP and regulating mining operations, as well as through the Nevada Division of Forestry, which is responsible for helping monitor and manage our protected species in Nevada. So I actually went out to the Silver Peak Range a couple days ago to take a personal look at this area, the mining exploration operations that are going on out there now, and the limited habitat for this buckwheat plant that's found only in Nevada. It's been looked for elsewhere and has not been found, and we're going to undertake a process now that gets input from the public and also looks at the best available science to decide
whether the species deserves additional protection, and if the answer to that is yes, whether the proposed lithium mining operation can be adjusted so as not to impact the species habitat. I can't answer that second question yet until we go through the first part of the process of whether the buckwheat should be afforded additional protections under the state threatened and endangered species laws. And so we're going to start there, and I anticipate that process will take up to a year to get to the end of whether additional protections are needed. I look at, and I don't know if you know the story of the dace down in southern Nevada, that there were at one point only 30 of these fish left. The Moapa dace, yes. Yeah, the Moapa dace, and they spent and have spent and continue to spend millions of dollars to preserve this fish. What's your thought on that? So the Moapa dace is in the middle of one of the more contentious regions for water rights allocations, and we call that area the Muddy River, the Lower White River Flow System, and the State Engineer's Office is going through a process right now to help manage those multiple basins there for the variety of users that have rights to the water and development pressures, but the basis for those decisions have to be built on top of ensuring the dace has a healthy population. And what do you consider a healthy population? Well, this is the... I mean, I think that Southern Nevada Water Authority was happy that they still had 30 left after those vandals came through. So this is the benefit of being a director and not a scientist. So I can't tell what the healthy population is, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service certainly can, as a federally endangered species. They're the ones that are going to make the determination about whether what is a healthy and viable population for the dace, and we will follow that procedure and then balance and allocate the water that's left on top of that amongst the users. All right, more with Brad Crowell when we come back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
One of the most psychologically damaging things parents can do to children in divorce
is disparage one another, which is why I can't believe I even have to make this commercial.
Half of your kids' genetics come from this person you're spewing hate about. Your children have the right to love you both, but more than that, they deserve to love themselves.
Marilyn York might be a men's rights divorce attorney, but this is for every selfish parent. Shut up!
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Brad Crowell. He is director of the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. In the opening, you brought up fire. Obviously, this is a huge issue, not only for California, but for Nevada as well. There's been dispute, depending on what materials you read. If you read Range Magazine, you're going to hear that ranchers have a solution, which is to have their livestock eating things that are combustible, and therefore you're not going to have that issue. In Carson City, which is your hometown, you've got goats eating up combustible material on the mountainsides. Where are we in terms of fire protection, the federal government, and the ranchers who actually ranch the land? And you've got 2 minutes. Sure. But you can come back too.
Very good. Thank you, Sam. It's a long topic. We're having a summit this coming week to look at these issues and try and have a more robust planning and response process between the state and local and the feds and the local folks to manage wildland fire. So grazing is one part of a multifaceted set of solutions to manage the increases in wildland fire. It's not the panacea, and it's not, but it's not to be dismissed either. I think the crux of the issue is that we're spending way too much money on fire suppression and not nearly enough money on mitigating fire from happening, and then doing smart rehab on the back end of fires that creates a more resilient landscape that's not full of invasives and things that burn very easily. So that is a big part of it. The other part of it is simple education. Often in most years, especially the heavy fire years we have, more than 50% of the fires are human starts. They're not natural starts. And so if we could cut down on human starts, we'd get ahead of the issue despite what Mother Nature might bring us.
And that's where we have to leave it for today. Thank you so much for doing this. I look forward to you coming back.
Thanks, Sam.
And we'll be right back.
The 7th Annual Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, compassion, accountability, integrity, respect. Tolles Development Company, breathing life into Northern Nevada's future. And the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, meeting the community's present and future needs.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Why are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in Northern Nevada. And we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lori Ann, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. You can also download podcasts of the show free of charge at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Everywhere is Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you on the next broadcast.